Hey guys, it's Coach Manny here, and I hope you're all doing well. Sorry for my voice today, and if I start coughing randomly, it's because I'm just getting over a flu. So I do apologize in advance, but I really wanted to get this video out to you today. What I want to cover is basically 3 tips to losing your last 5 kilos. So as we're all well aware, once you're on a weight loss journey, you got lost a bunch of weight. It's usually those last few kilos that are the most stubborn, that are the hardest to get off. So I thought I'd just make a quick video on ways you can actually lose those last stubborn bits of body fat, okay? Whether it's just sitting on your waistline or sitting on your thighs, this is what you need to do, okay? All right, so tip number 1 is track your food intake, okay? So whether you're using a food diary or using an app like MyFitnessPal or just, pen and paper, whatever it takes, just write it down, whatever works for you. And then what you'll notice is that there's going to be patterns that you're going to recognize throughout the week. So if you find that you're craving a lot of carbs or, chocolate or whatever it might be, processed foods at certain times of the day, you start to look at, all right, what did I eat before that? What time did I eat? What was I doing? If you kind of track all these things, then you start to recognize triggers within these patterns. And then once you've identified these triggers, you can look at ways of preventing this from happening and making sure that these triggers don't exist, okay? So whether that might be, for example, maybe you have lunch at 12, but your next meal might not be till 6 p.m. because that's just when you get home. And then you find that at about 3 o'clock, you start to eat, you find yourself eating a lot of like chocolate and whatever it might be, right? Things that might not be really healthy for you. So it could simply be that the break is so long between lunch and dinner, maybe you're not eating enough food for lunch, maybe you're not eating the right types of food for lunch, but you're able to identify that once you've written it down. And then, it might be something that you either, increase the size of your lunch, or have a healthy snack ready to go by about 3 o'clock, if that's when the crash kind of happens. So that's just one way of looking at it. Another reason for tracking your food intake is because you're going to see if you're in a calorie deficit or a calorie surplus. So you know that if you're not in a calorie deficit, it's going to be really hard to lose weight, okay? So that's why tracking your food intake, that's why MyFitnessPal is really good, because you can track your calorie intake, okay? All right, so tip number 2, all right, is tracking your macros, okay? Now, it might simply be just like, if you've never done that before, it might seem like, oh no, that's gonna be hard. I can't track my macros, too much effort, whatever. So it could be something as simple as just tracking your protein intake, okay? So if nothing else, just check your protein intake. Why? Because if you don't consume enough protein and you're trying to lose weight, what tends to happen is that you start to lose muscle, okay? So your body can burn up your muscle tissue a lot faster than it can burn up your fat tissue, okay? But what we want to do is preserve our skeletal muscle. So preserve as much muscle tissue as you can, because the more muscle that you're carrying, the more metabolically active you are, okay? So it will help you burn those extra calories. And it's going to help you maintain a nice and healthy physique, okay? So make sure that you're at least checking your protein intake, because if it's really low, just as a general guideline, you could be looking at anywhere, it's recommended anywhere between 1.2 to 1.5 grams per kilo of body weight. Now, of course, there are other sort of rules and exceptions around this as well, but just as a general rule of thumb, okay? So if you're not consuming that and you're falling quite well under that limit, then that could be a reason why you're struggling to lose those last 5 kilos, because maybe your diet is really high in carbs and fats and it's just not getting enough protein to feed your muscles, okay? So that's affecting your recovery, and that's affecting your ability to perform at your best and get those sessions in. So I hope that makes sense. And tip number 3, I could go on and on with I could give you 10 tips, but I just want to keep it nice and simple today. Tip number 3 is maybe you need to start doing some strength training, okay? So the reason why we do strength training or resistance training, whether that's body weight training or using dumbbells and barbells or machines, pin-loaded machines, plate-loaded machines, things like that, is because it's going to help you preserve your muscle tissue, just like keeping your protein intake up will, as you're losing weight, okay? Also, by increasing your muscle tissue, it's going to help increase your metabolism as well. So strength training is really, really important. That's why what we do in my facilities, we try to combine strength and cardio into our programs, just to help people tone up, add some muscle, but also lose body fat, increase their fitness. I find that it's easier when you combine the two together. It's a lot more time efficient that way. Okay, but strength training is really important. So if all you're doing is going for walks every day, or you're just on the treadmill every day, that's all well and good. If you're enjoying that, that's fantastic. But what I find is that if you really want to help tone your body up and just make those, make that extra difference to your goals, to your results, then including strength training into your weekly training program is really, really important. Even if something as minimal as 3 times a week will make a massive difference, okay, if you're not doing anything at all. If you're training 3 times a week, I recommend 3 full body workouts a week. Just try to target every muscle group in your body in those 3 workouts, okay? But those are the 3 tips for losing those last 5 kilos. I might do another video with a follow-up to this, maybe throw some extra tips here, but definitely these 3 will help you if you're just struggling with those last few stubborn bits of body fat, okay? So I hope that helps. Any questions, you know what to do, just reach out to me.